Hey there, new year, new name. This is Isolde Trachtenberg for the Your Creative Mind podcast. Yes, I've changed the name because you know what? I want to talk about how creativity, your creativity, can change the world and your life. So you'll still be getting all of the groundbreaking interviews with artists, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who are changing the world with their creativity. And I'm going to be diving even deeper into what it means to bring creativity into your life and into your work and into your friendships and into your world. Because I think, and you know this, I've talked about it, creativity, the creative mindset, your ability to build awareness and mindfulness and create the life you want is what's going to change the world. So while you're going to be hearing the Creative Solutions podcast for the next few episodes, please know this podcast is now the Your Creative Mind show. I hope that you stick around. I hope that you'll be here to learn and grow with me as I keep exploring the depths and heights of your creative mind. And now, let's get on with the show.
Who am I? What do I do when other people are not around? How do I react in the car when I'm alone? Do I throw the gum outside of a window? I don't do that. Do I flip the finger to a person when somebody cuts me off, and etc.? That will be the real you. When you're alone, when you are uncensored, you respond to certain situations, that's you.
Hi, and welcome to the Creative Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. On the show, you'll hear interviews with innovative creative artists, entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders. You'll have a front row seat as they explore their internal motivations that inspire them to grow, achieve, and innovate. Get their insights and realizations as I tease out answers to questions they've never even pondered before. This episode is brought to you by my upcoming book, Get Booked, a performer's guide to working with booking agents in the gig economy. Are you ready to thrive in gigs, big or small? Start with my Nailing Your Holiday Gigs checklist, your ultimate guide to crushing the holiday season. Grab it in the show notes and mark your calendar. The book drops January 2025. Get ready to go pro, book smarter, and own the gig economy. And now, let's get on with the show. Hello, and welcome to the Creative Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I'm very excited about this week's guest. Let me tell you about Eric Burnik. Eric is a serial entrepreneur, an inspirational speaker, and a business mentor known for his cross-cultural expertise and dedication to fostering resilience, innovation, and integrity. You know, those are all catnip to me. Eric's Pay It Forward ethos has transformed lots of lives, and he's here to share actionable insights on how you can integrate these principles into your own journey, whether you're a creative entrepreneur, a business owner, or someone who just wants to improve who they are today. From practical strategies for sustainable growth to empowering mentorship stories, Eric's wisdom promises to inspire and guide you in a creative and a positive, inclusive path on both your personal and your professional spheres. So I'm super excited to welcome you to the show, Eric. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to you, and thank you for the amazing introduction.
Oh,
I'll own it.
Awesome. You know, I love that. I love that you know, it's funny. So I was on a show recently and someone read my introduction, and then she said to me, "Do you own everything I just read?" And I went, and I had to really think about it because I wasn't sure I did. There are certain things I will own outright. Yes, I'm a podcaster. Yes, I'm an educator. Yes, I'm an author. Yes, I'm a singer. But when there were certain things that I kind of went, yeah, I've done it, but I still don't feel it. So I'm super glad to hear from you that you do. I would love to just get started right away and go something that really caught me when I was doing research as far as you're concerned is you really do want to pay it forward. And right before we started recording, you said, if I inspire one person to do something differently, that's all that matters to me. So I would love to hear from you about how you got here. What did Eric Burnik go through to get to the point where being there for other people, having that ethos in your professional perspective and journey is the way you do things, is the perspective from where you stand?
So I'll start from the beginning, basically. What I did in the past, I was always trying to help people with an
Mm,
expectation of someday I will get something in return. Someday this person will introduce me to that person.
mm,
Someday, and all of those what basically build up a credit score of disappointments. And when I got to know that first, it hit me very hard because it took me a very long time to build my network with a lot of supporting, introducing, doing business, and etc. with an expectation of that someday something will happen back. And then
mm,
I changed my mindset where people said, "Yeah, you need to pay back because you have done so much, so many experiences, good or bad, you can still pay back." And it took me again a couple of years to realize that I did not take from anybody anything. So why should I pay it back?
mm,
Because if I have something in my mind like I have to pay back, then I have to do more for others than for myself. And I don't know who that said it, but one day one person was talking in a presentation environment and said, like in the airplane, when pressure goes down, the first thing what people will say to you, put the mask first on yourself, then
mm,
on the others,
mm,
even if it's your child beside you,
mm,
because you cannot give away what you don't have. And that stuck with me for a very long time.
mm,
Although one of the things that triggers me always is the things that I've learned, I've done it my way by making a lot of mistakes. However, those are the journeys that can be shared with everybody so they don't have to make the same mistake, but they can make new mistakes. So,
mm.
with that idea, I said, I will pay it forward. Any ideas, any support, anything without any expectations in return, anything. And it gave me so much fulfillment for myself that I just did something for somebody else and then moved on.
Mhm.
And that's basically since 2019, it's my mission for myself, personal gain. It's like helping other people. And one goal that I have is at 1%, if I can just change 1% or just plant the seeds for 1% for a person or an individual or group, I am doing amazing. I had to drink water a bit.
No, no, no
Um,
worries. No worries.
so yeah, it's that's basically the whole goal is paid forward, and it triggers me and it gives me a huge energy to see other people taking it and doing it and trying it and failing it, but also coming back to discuss and to challenge each other to improve. And those are the things that uh, intrigues me to do even more. So coming back to your question, I do what I do because I found my ikigai, and ikigai is literally saying paid forward.
I love Ikigai. I love the concepts. So if you're listening to this and you've heard me talk about that on the show, basically what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what people are willing to pay you for, the intersection of that is your purpose. And Eric, when I hear you talk about this, it's fascinating to me because this it takes a lot of selflessness, but I also believe, and you can speak to this, I'm sure, that there's a lot of freedom in not having any expectations of anybody else to do anything else, that you do what you do, as you said, and then you move on. Can you talk about your own mindset? Because that is innovative to me, because most people do have that, even if they say they don't, they have that little expectation that now that I've done for them, maybe they'll do for me. And when someone doesn't, instead of being able to let it go quickly and easily, you might be disappointed. And that takes your energy, right? It takes your energy to be disappointed or to be angry or to be jealous. So, can you talk a little bit about your own mindset and how you maintain your energy level? And does not having expectations of other people or of payback, as you said, play a role?
Yeah, wow. I'll start again with first reflecting to myself. And I am a normally introverted person, so I really need to lean back, relax, let everything go by, and then reflect And then from there on, when I'm at the group environment, it looks like I'm a very extroverted person, but I have a balance in that part. I
Hmm.
cannot be too extroverted and I cannot be too introverted. So I have to be balancing. And that gives me a lot of energy to move on and to create buzz, fun moments, excitements, trying new things, helping each other, creating new businesses, uh, discussing about philosophy, trying to, like, it can be anything. That said, everything starts with when you can be honest to yourself in the mirror. And that's the moment is when you just say, okay, why am I going to do this? What's in it for me? Am I doing it just because, I mean, we all judge people by the book, by the cover of the book. So if that's the reason that you pick up the book and open and read it, then you can just say, oh, I opened this book. But generally speaking, you just help the person that is either was attractive to you or you saw something in that person or you wanted something in that person. The moment that you realize that you're doing it for yourself, that it gives you joy when you help other people, then the individual on the other side doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter who that person is, as long as you see the how to say the sparkling in their eyes that they're uh, willing to try something, willing to do something,
Hmm.
and that's basically where what triggered me. But coming back again for myself, I had to go through that. I don't want to say drama, but to that like deep um, V-shaped of hero's journey to
Hmm.
figure out my personal challenges, my personal voices in my head, like why am I doing certain things? Um, am I honest to myself? And then that took a very long time. That honesty starts with yourself, and then you realize, like, okay, who am I? What do I do when other people are not around? How do I react in the car when I'm alone? Do I throw the gum outside of a window? Or I don't do that. Do I flip the finger to a person when somebody cuts me off and etc.? That will be the real you. When you're alone, when you are uncensored, you respond to certain situations, that's you. But when other people are around, you adjust yourself because your thoughts are, they're going to judge you. So for that reason, you adjust. So the crossroad came for me when I realized, okay, this is me. The only way that I'm going to be able to move and help others and achieve my own personal growth is when accepting myself and helping others. So the tip is it's going to be a long journey. Nevertheless, you need to first accept yourself.
I love that you said that. I really do. I have a meditation space in my office, and above my meditation space, I have the words, always tell yourself the truth. And I live by that as
It's
much as
hard.
possible. It is. It is. That's why I said I live by it as much as possible
Yeah.
because we lie to ourselves better than anyone else can lie to us. We are so
Oh,
good at it.
absolutely.
So there's something that I'm very curious about. You're using the words that something is triggering you. And my understanding of the meaning of the word is that it's a negative thing. In other words, someone who is triggered by something is having some sort of a traumatic response to it. It seems to me you're using it in a positive way. Can you explain to me what you mean when you say this triggers me? Do you mean it jumpstarts you, or do you mean that you're having some sort of traumatic response and are behaving from that place?
You had it on the spot. At the end of the bottom line, we respond on a action, and those actions we put meanings on it. And one person can say a word that doesn't mean, like I can just say like I think I saw this somewhere on social media. I can just say I hate your blue hairs. When you don't have a blue hair, you don't feel that sticking on you. So you are not triggered by the word I hate your blue hairs. But
Hmm.
if you have slightly a highlight of a blue hair or something like that in your hair, you're going to feel attacked and you are going to respond differently.
Hmm.
And so I think the triggers are always based on something that happened in your life and then you respond on it because it goes back to, I believe, psychologically something between the age of 5 and 7. Something happened there and then you triggered these coping mechanisms to protect yourself. You create the shields around you. That's why majority of people are scared of public speaking. Fun fact, that's the first thing where people are scared of. Not the death. Death is, I believe, number two or three. Public speaking is biggest fear of every individual. So, but that comes from somewhere. And that somewhere is, as I said, it's something like a trauma. Um, I am not good with authoritarian response. I trigger and I always respond to that. However, as I said, last couple of years, I realized this. I can change the trigger, either responding negatively or it can be a kind of a reset again. Hey, the reason I respond to this because my goal was to do something good. So every time that I have that trigger, it's kind of a reminder for me. Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to the right path? Who can I help now?
I love that you are so invested in asking yourselves those questions. And it's funny that that whole notion of public speaking, I used to have a public speaking phobia. Not that you can tell. And when I overcame it, I wrote a book all about how to speak, engage, and motivate audiences called Speak from Within.
Amazing.
And oh yeah, and I'm an immigrant to the USA, and English is actually my fourth language. And kids made fun of me. I was a little bit
Yeah.
older than seven, but that when we came, I was seven, so I'd already gone through a year-long immigration process. I developed my public speaking phobia at around age 9. But your words, your point is well taken that so many of our early childhood experiences really shape how we're going to instinctively respond. So, what I would love to find out from you, since you've gotten to the point where you are self-observational, I love that phrase. I've never said it before, but I think it's so
I'm gonna
incredibly.
steal this and
I
use
know.
it.
Isn't that amazing? I was like, but that's what you're doing because you're asking yourself these questions in the moment. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed? You said over the last few years, since around 2019, you really started asking yourself those questions. Do you have any practices that allow you to do that? Are you a martial artist? Do you do Tai Chi? Do you meditate, journal? What do you do to improve your ability to be, as we've just coined, self-observational?
Yeah. You already pointed a couple of things that I already do. Like martial art, yes, I do that, but it's not because I want to reflect. It just keeps my mind kind of a fresh a bit, resetting, going
Hmm.
to the gym or doing something with friends or doing a challenge, running a marathon, all the other stuff. It's pure to challenge myself.
Hmm.
Has nothing to do with that reflection. That reflection came after I really was depressed in a period of time.
Mm.
I was really, really depressed. And although sometimes I feel that depression is a welfare, not a welfare, let's say, a, if you're doing okay, then that's where the depression comes in.
Uh-huh.
I don't hear people who are working day in, day out that they need to put bread on a table to survive, that they have some depression. Depression comes in when you settle and then you see like, everything is comfortable. Now what's next? And that's what I had. I had a comfortable period and then I had this medical thing that thyroid that did not work well. I did not know it, but I was gaining weight and then everything was going slow. I was losing hair, muscles were cramping, and I was like literally just getting better, bad, 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 and all the time. And then
Hmm.
one day my uh, partner just said like, "Hey, honey, you really need to go to the doctor. You need to mention all the symptoms that you have." So when I went there, they said, "Oh, you need to go to the hospital." After that, they said, "Your thyroid is not working," and the term was Hashimoto. Never heard of it.
Ah,
Again,
Hashimoto's. Hmm.
Coming back to the Japanese term,
Hmm.
and that was the moment that I thought, oh, the only way going out from here is like if I only take action. If I stay where I am, nothing is going to change.
Right.
So this was 2017,
Hmm.
and then slowly by slowly trying to self-educate, go to um, these huge conferences where you then realize you are not the only person who's struggling with personal growth, personal development,
Hmm.
and then some of the things that you realize like are very simple tasks, like just gratitude, just journaling, like 5 minutes, just writing down how you feel, what do you want to achieve today, and those were like small tasks that I did and went like all in, and then got to know about the gratitudes, I believe wrote the book, read the book of 5 a.m. Club. And in that book, he was explaining that if you write down every day 10 gratitudes, what you're grateful for, in the first couple of days, it was so difficult. Like I couldn't find anything like to be grateful for.
Mm,
And then somebody said, yeah, but Eric, are you grateful that you're alive? Are you grateful that you can see? Are you grateful that you can hear? Are you grateful that you can eat? And then it
right,
started like slowly, slow, small changes. And then you realize like, okay, I am very grateful that I'm alive, that I
right.
can experience these things. And if you then realize how lucky we are, the ones that are listening to your podcast, that 1 in 400 trillion chance that we were born and then that we are still alive, it's just miracle, let's say like that. And then if you just waste it because you think that time will pass faster, you're going to be miserable when you're 80. And you're going to say like, I wish I did something different. I wish I tried this. And those were the things that I basically read a couple of books and then realized like, okay, I don't want to um, be 80, 85, and then say, why didn't I do this? Because that
Mm,
person, because I'm pointing fingers. And I think one of the guys, this is the first time that I heard, it was 20 years, 22 years ago, an American, a ex-army veteran. He is Charles Roof. And he said, when you point a finger to a person, there are three other fingers pointing back to you.
hmm
So you need to reflect 3 times more before you judge another person. And psychologically seeing, you point fingers to people because they did something or they are your um, allergy, let's say like that. They trigger in you something. Either you like it or you don't like it.
hmm
That's why you respond to them. And so that was basically the whole journey. In 2017, it started kind of a bit, and then 2019, I had that aha moment. I realized like it's much simpler than we do. It's just moments. Yes, when I wake up in the morning, I will take my 3 to 6 minutes ice bath, which is going to be around, what is it, 50, 53 Fahrenheit. And then during that 6 minutes, I will close my eyes and I meditate a bit. And those are like the moments like, okay, great. And when I get out of it, then I will say it in my head, like, okay, what am I grateful for? 10 things, very simple.
mm.
That literally, that's basically what my daily routine looks like. And those small steps, it just changed your whole day. You got like so much dopamine shot in your head, either through the cold bath, but also all of those gratitude realizations of the things that you've done, you've achieved, you have learned. It just gives like, I mean, if we can see how much energy we're giving away, I mean,
Mm.
if I talk on like what is it? It will be 37 degrees Celsius, will be around almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that something like that?
hmm
Our body is giving is constantly 37 degrees Celsius, which is like almost 100 Fahrenheit. When we realize that it's 100 Fahrenheit outside, then we say, "Wow, it's very hot." But that's literally what we are every day, except when you're ill. So use that energy and just go with the flow and be um, enjoying every decision that you take. It doesn't matter what kind of decision, bad or good, you learn from it.
Yeah, I like to say sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, instead of sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's so
I
fascinating.
100%, 100%.
It's
And,
so
and, and you
funny. Oh, go
only
ahead.
learn from your mistakes. You only learn from your mistakes.
Hmm. I don't,
You only learn from mistakes because those are
Interesting.
the things that creates an emotional peak in your brain, and those are the things that stick in your brain. That's why when you put your hand on fire, it burns. Then you realize, oh, my body and my muscles are responding to that. I'm not going to do that because I learned from that pain. But when it's a jokeful way, it sticks, but it's never sticks really in your brain.
That's
Trauma is the biggest.
teacher.
Um, yeah, absolutely,
Interesting.
absolutely.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I think peak experiences teach you, whether or not they're really bad mistakes or really big uh, achievements or wins. But you and I should get together and have a conversation around the psychology of that because that's fascinating to me. And it is
But
interesting to me.
I'm very, very curious about, you said peak, but that means there's a lot of energy going there to achieve that peak and a peak experience.
Absolutely. For example, I was actually just talking about this the other day. I do solo episodes of this show. So if you listen to the episode
Hmm.
about uh I'm talking to the audience right now. Hang on one second. So if you're listening to this and you've listened to the episode about the 100 rejections project that I'm doing, this is what I was talking about in that episode. So here's the thing for me. A peak experience, for example, was in college when I directed a full length play with a budget of $50. And I put in a ton of energy into that play. I mean, a ton. And if you ask me, and somebody recently did, what was the best experience of your life? It was that. It was directing that play and being in the audience when the actors who were in the play did the play on a budget of $50. It was peak experience, magnificent. And that was there over 30 years ago. What's interesting to me is that it's still one of the peak experiences. And what it has done over the last 30 years is slowly but surely bring me around to the fact that that is my life's goal is to direct a show on Broadway, right?
Yeah.
So what it has done for me, despite all the other things that I did with my life, I worked at NASA for many years, I did all this stuff. Now I have one goal, write shows, do this show, this podcast, and work my way towards directing a show on Broadway. And so it was not a negative. It took a lot of work. It was not a negative experience. It was a peak experience, and it has shaped the rest of my life. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. Yes, I learned how to put a show on with a $50 budget, and we did have things go wrong for sure. But that success, that show going the way I envisioned it and seeing my vision come to pass, it blew me away and blows me away to this day. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm
I
talking
fully
about.
agree. The phrase of peak experience, I'll remember that. And I would like to I would like to add on, and what I meant with the negative experience is
Hmm.
you knew when you started this that it's almost impossible to achieve with $50
Sure.
to put a show. So that's already it triggers your mind to think differently, which means you're
Absolutely.
already neurologically making new connections,
Hmm.
and at the
Hmm.
same time having a plan B, like, oh, if it goes wrong, but we tried it at least. However,
Absolutely.
when you then go through that plateau of succeeding and then looking back by you hard work and sweat and convincing other people to join that and making sure that everything works well with that $50 budget, that's where the emotion hits in. But if I tell you, if you had like a million budget and then you had everything with you and then it went perfectly, you will not remember that. You'll mainly remember the things that it took so much effort for yourself to break through. You grew from that part 10 times faster than if you had everything going perfectly and you had a big budget for it.
Oh, that's entirely possible. Since I don't have the alternate to look at, I cannot disagree. I just remember seeing the vision in my head realized in reality, and that was perfection. Even though not everything went right, but it was still
Absolutely
perfection.
amazing. I really mean it because, as you said, it's that was your why 30 years ago. That was your why.
Absolutely.
It took you that
Absolutely.
long journey to realize, like, okay, this is what I want. I want to be at the Broadway and organize and make sure that audiences can enjoy my brain's vision, let's say like that, put it on a paper,
Hmm.
and then actors are acting on it. And so
Yeah.
amazing. And I will applaud you on that, Chief. And when you do that, I'll be one of your audience guests joining
Oh,
and
that
watching your.
I'll
Absolutely, I love that.
I'll invite you. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
and but it is interesting to me that that kind of I'm in the middle of reading a book called 10x is easier than 2x, and it talks a lot
yeah,
about coming up with the impossible goal. What, not what's the next step, but what's the step that is 100 steps ahead. how do you have to behave to achieve that goal instead of the goal right in front of you? And that's one of the reasons I'm like, okay, I want to direct shows on Broadway because of that. So I would love to talk to you about that notion. Although I want to acknowledge the Hashimoto's. I have had hypothyroidism, and just recently, after 30 years of trying to stabilize it, got myself back into the normal TSH range. So I applaud your efforts. It's an insidious issue. Hypothyroidism is an insidious issue. So good for you for working on it and dedicating to it. It takes a lot. You and I have very parallel lives in many ways. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's funny to hear. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
but oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, no, it's just at the end of the bottom line. I mean, nobody knows why. At least there are not very clear clinical studies about thyroid issues. Like, what was the trigger that made thing like Hashimoto, etc.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are medicating as much as possible. Hopefully, I'll be one day on your side, not
Mm.
using Medicaid and having TH4 and 3 normalized a bit.
Yeah, I hope for you that it does. Yeah, what's interesting, to get a little technical, for T4, T3 are thyroid hormones. T4 has to be transformed into T3 with iodine
Correct.
levels in your blood, and don't eat a lot of iron. And it's weird because if you exercise more, you can make yourself worse. There's a lot of it is insidious and it's stinky, but there it is. What's interesting to me though, for me, for example, with my thyroid, I know exactly when it happened. I went
Hmm.
hypothyroid when I was 15, and it was because of theater. I'm going to get gross on you for a second, if you don't mind. I was doing theater. I went from doing my first musical theater performance in high school to we were doing Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was Titania. I was cast in that for the spring play, and I was not sexually active at the time. And from December through May, I didn't menstruate, and I didn't even realize that I hadn't menstruated. Like, I had no thought in my head.
Mm.
And the day after the show closed, it started and went for almost 4 weeks. And I'm sorry, I'm gross, but there it is. It's part of
No, no, not at
biology.
all. It's a part of nature. Exactly.
Exactly. So that's when I went hypothyroid. So the very thing that I love most, the stress of putting on the shows and working full time and being in high school and taking care of my little sister and blah blah blah, it
Yeah,
it pushed me over the edge. Now here's what's interesting with my thyroid. It's not that it is not producing enough thyroid hormone at all. It's producing enough, but it's inefficient. It's sluggish. It's working really hard to
yeah,
do it. So, if, for example, I can't run a mile, I've never been able to run a mile. I have bad knees. But imagine running a mile, and while you're running a mile, you're lifting your knees furiously and you're pumping your arms really hard.
yeah,
At the end of the mile, you've run a mile, but you've done it inefficiently as opposed to jogging using good technique. That's what my thyroid
yeah.
is
Correct.
I don't use good technique. And so for you with Hashimoto's, it's a different kettle of corn. You're doing something that your body's doing something that is very hard to regulate because Hashimoto's is slippery. So I'm going to
Yeah,
ask
correct.
you, how do you maintain your energy levels? Because you're doing this work that's very selfless, and you have this wonderful mindset, which I respect very much. But I got to tell you, I know hypothyroidism, and sometimes it feels just difficult to open your eyes in the morning. So, how do you maintain your energy levels to do all this work that you're doing to help so many people?
So I would like to correct one small thing
Hmm.
and being honest on this case by saying like being selfless. That's I don't think that's true. I mean, the reason that I do it, it gives me a good energy. It gives me a dopamine and
Hmm.
serotonin boost that makes me happy. That's why I'm
Hmm.
doing it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then
Okay.
and that's literally we do things because it helps us to achieve certain things.
Hmm.
And some of us do it because of certain beliefs, other ones do it because of certain goals, etc. I do it
Okay.
because it gives me a boost of energy.
Okay.
That said, I am a morning person. I worked for a very long time as a bouncer, more than a decade, and I had my business in the morning, and I was going to university, so I was doing a lot of things at the same time for a very long time. And I think that was the reason where when I stopped working during the night and when I stopped going to when I finished university, and then only focus on the business, I think that was a trigger. What happened with me, the Hashimoto kicked in.
Mm,
So kind of similar thing, but it took me a longer period of time. That said, I had to really, really train myself again to move from the nightlife mindset to
mm-hmm,
a morning mindset. And it
mm-hmm,
took me, if you ask Shanine, my partner, she will laugh, but she will be also angry at the same time. You don't know how many times I've snoozed. I'll put my 5
mm,
a.m. club alarm on, and then 5 a.m. comes and I snooze, and like to
mm.
5:30, and I snooze again, and then she will be pissed off. I'll say, honey, tomorrow I'm going to do it better. Tomorrow I'm going to do it better. And that's basically what happened for a very long time until I became comfortable with 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly my biological clock, it just goes on. Like I don't even need to touch my phone to see what time it is. I will just wake up around 5. And when I'm awake, then I'm on. And I will literally just be the most active person in the house. And that's where a natural kind of energy I think comes in.
Mm,
And my flip side of it is after the lunch, usually when you have this graveyard shifts, let's say like
mm.
that, that's where everything goes down. And then
Right.
I need to keep my energy high. Then I
Mm-hmm.
need to balance it a bit. So what I either do is I try to meditate a bit for 10 minutes. Back in it back in 2019, I will do a cat nap for 20 minutes.
Mm,
That will help me a lot. And now I just walk around. I will not eat that much and I'll just literally just walk around for 10, 20 minutes.
mm-hmm.
And that keeps my energy level a bit more balanced. I think it has to do also with glucose in your body, how that responds after eating food. And so for that reason, I try to walk so then glucose doesn't peak, because when it peaks, then your energy goes down and then you respond very negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sugars and all the other stuff, basically it activates your glucose. And when you are not happy and responding very angry to your colleagues, partner, children, majority of the time it has to do with the glucose going bananas just for a couple of minutes.
Mm. Yeah, that's fascinating. I call it food coma, the post-lunch food coma.
Yeah.
And there is this, all I need is a nap. And then I can't nap. I'm not good at napping. So good for you for figuring that out. And I love that you have managed to figure out how to work with your circadian rhythms and sort of I am a morning person and I'm going to live my life like a morning person, even on those days when I don't feel like waking up. And honestly, Eric, I could speak to you about just this stuff for the rest of the time we're chatting. And yeah, because it's it's so it's fascinating. And
Yeah.
yet I do want to spend at least a little time talking about why you came on this podcast to begin with, which was innovation. Now, you have innovated your whole life, right? You have thought outside the box, thought laterally, taken leaps, and followed, I think, some studying and some intuition to get where you are. I would love to switch gears a little bit and talk to you
Yeah.
about what you're doing in business to foster innovation with organizations or with teams, because I do innovation and creative thinking workshops with organizations
Hmm.
and teams. I go into companies and organizations and help them get to a place where they can innovate. I would love to talk with you about how you do that. What is your process of walking in to a team that might not be innovative, that might not be being cutting edge, and helping them become creative thinkers? Because I mean, you and I have very similar lives because I do the exact
Yeah.
same thing. Talk to me about that notion of creative thinking and collaboration, because it's what I do too. So I would love to hear your take on it. How do you help teams do that?
So it's when I come together, it's all started by making massive amounts of mistakes.
Mm,
Giving an example, it starts with yourself first. So what do you stand for? What are your beliefs? How do you want to build a company? Because at the end of the bottom line, your company or your project is the same. You put the same amount of value in like your children, because you want your children to grow and to represent themselves a certain way. So you give them values. And that's literally what happens with the companies. So you are the only person as a founder and a CEO that keeps your company growing because of your certain beliefs. It brings you to a certain level. You are successful. Great for that. Applaud you. But then at some point of life, you need to realize, okay, I need to either educate myself or I need to step down and hire another person who does it much better than I do.
Hmm.
So that's generally like what Jeff Bezos has done. There is a new CEO for Amazon. He's not the CEO because he realized like he reached a peak, and then now he needs to be able to manage businesses on board level and not on operational level.
Hmm.
And so, well done to his decision. And that's basically where a majority of the companies, like give you an example, in US, I believe there are 51 million registered companies. I mean, these are all from freelancer to like Fortune 500, Fortune 10, let's say it like that. So if you look at all of those, the Fortune 500 is not even like 10% of the 51 million. And the rest will be somewhere, let's say average will be 5 to 15 million USD's annual revenue. And they will peak at that moment. They will not grow. The reason for that is because of the CEO or the owner. That's because they're keeping the company culture, etc.
Hmm.
Now, when you realize all of those things, when I go to when I what I did internally, I realized like, okay, I need to be first honest. So we already started by presenting ourselves. This is what I've done. 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 So we put our labels on it so then everybody understands, okay, I've done a lot of work. But if I ask to you, who are you without your credentials? You're going to think for a very long time because majority of the people will not know what to say.
Hmm.
So and that's what I always start. So when you come to a room, majority of people will think like, another person who's going to teach us what the innovation is. We do our thing in our own way. Why should we listen to this guy? That's basically what happens when you go to a room. And I always say, and these are like based on rough numbers, it doesn't matter if you speak to 1,000 people to 50 people,
Hmm.
25% of the room will hate your guts immediately. They will just judge you. They would just say, your glasses, your voice, your hair, your sweaty, anything. And then there will be 25% of the room. They will be in love with you. It doesn't matter what you do, what kind of mistake you make, you fall down, you misspoke, you said something very wrong that triggers them. It doesn't matter. They will just love you. They're going to be your groupies. Those are the ones that they will wait in line, just say, give a handshake with saying, thank you very much. You um, gave me a lot of insights. So that's going to happen either way around. And then you will have 50% of the room. They're going to be the ones that are going to say like, did I waste my time? My manager said I have to be here, so it's compulsory. So what do I do? Do I listen? Do I now take a call and go out of the room? And those are the people that you need to trigger because those are the ones that are the majority of the society. And then in the business is the same. So I always start with asking the question, who are you? I will grab one or two people on the stage and ask random question. I introduce yourself, etc. And I will introduce myself. And then I'll say, who are you without all your credentials? Who knows you? Like, say I have my twin and it's Eric and it works as a chief operational officer. No, let's say it's a chief security officer.
Uh-huh.
Everybody knows that Eric as a chief security officer. However, if I ask who knows Eric beside that chief security officer, what does he do? Does he have children? What does he like, etc.? And majority of people will not know that because it's all based on the labels. So that will be the first part. So when we all realize that's gone, now we can say, okay, I'm doing this because I want to improve my own processes or my own company or my own relationship. So that will be the baseline. And the second part will be depends on the how diverse the team is.
Hmm.
In the US, it can be either cultural diversity, it can be sexual diversity, it can be anything, but it can also be state diverse. I mean, somebody from New York doesn't speak the same way as somebody as a person from Utah, Salt Lake.
For sure.
Totally different values.
Hmm.
However, I have this kind of a game because majority of the time nowadays we need to figure out like, oh, did I say something wrong? Did I offend somebody? I have this day, this hour, which I will say, let's talk about the stereotypes. You can just say anything about that stereotype, anything.
Hmm.
without getting offended. We don't offend you, we just offend as a stereotyping. So then we will say this culture, this religion, this, that, and everybody says thing and we start giggling, but in a kind of sometimes like, like, is it comfortable giggle or uncomfortable giggle? But what happens here is it breaks down the shields that we have around us, because then you realize like, oh, okay, I can be myself here, kind of, I can share my ideas. And that's where then the triggering point comes, is that what does the innovation mean for you?
Hmm.
And the last phase of this one will be, I will share like, great, you have now three scenarios. One is when shit hits the van, everything goes wrong.
Hmm.
How are you going to feel about it? What's going to trigger you? Let's say it's 1 year from now. You need to write it down. Does that feel like, oh, my manager is going to talk bad about me? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my wife, partner, etc., etc. The bigger one will be the best case scenario. Best case scenario is, what if you don't have any restrictions, you don't have any budgetary problems, and you can build the visionary company within 3 years of time? What will be the innovations and the tools that you will need in a company to optimize and to grow your company to a certain level? And as you nailed it by saying like 2x is much more difficult than 10x.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's where it comes in. The best case scenario, it will be focusing on the 10x. And the reality is, majority of the time, you're going to end around 7x. But if you focus on 2x, when you get that, you're going to be disappointed. But when you are focusing on 10x and you get the 7x, you're going to be much more happier.
For sure.
And that's basically the trigger, is realization where you want to go and then putting it as a roadmap. And I always do end it up with a clear roadmap for every department, but it has to be a huge. And then so they have to stick it on the wall. And then so every day when they pass by, that they see that roadmap there. Every department has this roadmap. This is the best case scenario. And this is why we do this. And that's basically where innovation comes in. And that's said toward the companies, how I use it myself. I am a chaotic person in my head. I am a dyslexic as, oh man, I do not like to read book, but I'll push myself to read a book every day for 5 pages to 10 pages.
Mm.
So those are the small things that trigger me. But my eureka moment was when OpenAI came with the chat GPT. That literally changed my whole daily routine, my whole taking business ideas, writing it down, communicating, automating things. And that's basically what helped me a lot in my innovation. So I can now move really 3 times faster in my day without the ChatGPT. So ChatGPT helps me move 3 times faster than if I would do it without it, because of my dyslexia, because of like checking the email, writing it, like trying to be a bit correct and all the other stuff. And then in my companies, if I look at it till today, I think we saved around 18% of our operational costs by optimizing majority of the stuff.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's interesting to me to hear that, to hear that you are, I mean, you're embracing new technology. We still don't know exactly what AI is going to be or how it's going to evolve. But it sounds to me like you're using ChatGPT as a tool that allows you, again, I come back to freedom. It allows you freedom to be more of, to follow more of your strengths, to follow more of who you are, so that it automates or helps you figure out the steps to automate the things that you don't want to be doing. So when you're in the decision-making process, I would love to hear a little bit about that part of it. You said ChatGPT helped you, you're 3 times more productive and faster and all of these other things. But in the moment, someone says to you, Eric, I need you to make a decision. What is your process?
I will take the decision at that moment. If that's if that person needs the decision at that moment and that
Hmm.
person pitches me, so they have to do this with me before I say yes or no, or we're going to do this.
Hmm.
There's going to be an idea or a problem. They're going to have 3 scenarios researched, and then they're going to come with their own conclusion or suggestion. And then I can just say, oh, based on those three, you suggested this. This is why you want to. And I think based on these three, we can combine either these two or not. And that will be the decisions will be taken at that moment. I think Jeff Bezos also said this. I am focusing on the decisions that are 3 years ahead.
Mm,
I don't want to be focusing on the decisions that affects me today. So I am working on things, building things that are having a reflection within 3 years of time. So the kind of Eric 3 years ahead is talking back to me
hmm
by saying, this is where I am now based on your decision on that day. So take the decision. I mean, I think the decision and word, if you, it comes from Greek, I think, and it says it's cut, it's incision. So you need to cut that process. So you need to say, okay, till here, this is what we're going to do. And if you don't do that, then it's going to bite you back in the future.
mm. That I believe. That I believe. Yeah.
All the decisions that we are not taking today,
Mhm.
it's going to reflect on us on a bad way in the future because the things that we are avoiding now are the biggest growth breakthroughs that we are going to have.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting to me about that is that I just actually, again, you and I are thinking along such parallel lines. I just recently wrote a long article about this notion of avoidance and
Mm,
procrastination and how it feels like it's daunting. And so you're avoiding, avoiding, avoiding. And then the second you have even a little bit of movement, that movement breaks through the paralysis and everything is so much easier. So again, it's taking that action, which I think is so, so important. Even the tiniest step will break through you being frozen, whatever that is. But there are a lot of people out there who are coming up after us, who are younger, who are just starting out. What do you tell someone who's a young entrepreneur who's starting their own business? They're just starting out in their career. What's your guidance to someone who's now today with ChatGPT, with AI, with post-pandemic situations in the business world and in the world itself? What do you tell someone who's just starting out?
I'll start first communicating the reality because majority of us is we've seen now in the last, let's say, almost 2 decades. Like you can become instant millionaire by Bitcoin, by NFTs, by drop shipping, by all the other stuff. And we only see the tip of the iceberg. We don't know if it's true or not. We just see the tip of the iceberg. But we see like driving this car, traveling on this, but we don't know if they own it or rent it, etc. So that's our idea of entrepreneurship. Nowadays, almost everybody wants to become an entrepreneur. However, we want to have the results of entrepreneurship, but we don't want to put the work in it.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurship is a lonely effing journey. You're gonna be people around you are gonna laugh at you. They're gonna disagree with you. They're gonna demotivate you. They're gonna laugh at your ideas. They're gonna say, "Don't do it. It's not in our family. It's not in our blood. You are supposed to be a lawyer. You are supposed to be a doctor." It. And if you have that kind of surrounding, oh man, your journey is gonna be even more tougher.
Mm,
But when you break through that phase, you're going to enjoy the entrepreneurship even more. One thing that a lot of people, when I ask every young person, like, and any individual, like, hey, you want to be an entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneur, you say that you are one. Why did you want to become one? Yeah, I want to have my freedom. Good luck, my man, because freedom, no, 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 no. You're a slave of your business. You wake up with your business in mind, you go to bed with business in mind. There is no day off when you are in business, when you're an entrepreneur. When you work for a company, you can log out. You can just say, hey, Friday, it's Friday then, and Saturday, Sunday, that song is literally that can be your going offline and enjoying party. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're at the barbecue, you are thinking about the next bill you need to pay. You're going to think about the next project that you need to win. You're going to think about what's going to be the next collaboration that you need to have. And so what I missed in the beginning was the support group around. And then I realized, like, okay, I don't have that, so I need to do it myself first. go through that. People are going to be always right. When I went bankrupt for the first company, people are going to be again right when it didn't work out the second company. People are going to be again right when it didn't work with the fourth company, etc., etc. But then you just need to be right once. And then people say, oh, yeah, I knew that you were be able to achieve that. I mean, you as a
Mm.
podcaster, I can guarantee you that you had people around you, they'll say, do you know how many podcasts are there? Why? Why would you start a new podcast? And you know how time consuming is it? You're not going to be able to make money with it. Like, why are you doing it? Like, etc. And those like negative thoughts, if you are not strong in your mind, you're going to take that with you and you're going to doubt yourself because you're going to have those walls that you're going to hit, fall on your face. And then you need to like either go through with the tail between your legs and just push through, or you just say, okay, I quit. You are right. And I always end up my presentation to universities that am guest lecturer. Sometimes I speak about entrepreneurship. Is either you commit or you quit. There is no middle way.
Mm.
And I would like to give you a story about this. I was in 2010 in South Africa with the World Cup soccer for us football, but for you guys soccer. And South Africa has seven big different languages, but there are
Mhm.
also like hundreds of different ones.
Mhm.
But one of the lady that invited us to a dinner, and we're like three young guys going to parties and etc. And that person, lady said, "Hey, would you like to come tonight to this dinner? We are going to be with a couple of our friends and enjoying, and it's going to be good foods." And we said, "Yeah, I'll try to join." And then she said, "Like, what do you mean with a try?" I said, "I'll try to be on time there." She said, "Yeah, but in our language we don't have the word try. Either
Mm.
you come or you don't."
Mm.
And then I did not realize back then, but now if I reflect it now, and that's basically the thing that you label yourself. If I say, "Oh, I'm gonna just give it a try," that means you will have a plan B, and you're not gonna go full pedal to the metal to achieve that goal because you have a plan B in your head.
Mm.
But when you
Mhm.
say, "I'm gonna do it," it doesn't matter what. At the end of the finish line, I'm gonna gain either knowledge or the goals that I had, like financial goals, credential goals, recognition. It can be anything. There is a reason why you do entrepreneurship because you want to get something. It can be a recognition. It can be like, I told you so I can do this. It can be the money that you need to have. You need to buy a house. You need to buy a yacht, etc., etc.
Mhm.
And so if you know that, then the reflection will be good. So for myself, I want to make sure that I do it because I want to do it. And then I want to make sure that I applaud other entrepreneurs when they start entrepreneurship journey, that we try to help each other, when we try to push each other to achieve certain goals. I mean, just realize this: when we were young, when we first time start to, after crawling, start to walk, first two steps, we fall down. Our parents did not say, "Ha ha ha, loser, you fall down. I told you you're not going to be able to walk." No, 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 no. They encouraged you to do two more steps.
Mhm.
They applaud you by just in like celebrating your steps. And that's where you, as a baby, realize like, oh, I have a amazing cheerleaders around me who are pushing me to do two more steps. We need to encourage and we need to motivate the other ones to help. As babies, we started to walk, and as a companies, we need to push each other. However, the reality is that every individual, every business idea that starts today, 90% of them will be shut down within a year of time. And 10% of the ones that survive the first year, it's going to be shut down, 60% of them within 3 years of time.
Mm.
So, what this says is that the ones that go through, that have that breakthrough moments, are the ones that are pushing, and that they don't give an F about how people think about them. They just do it because they believe that they're going to be able to achieve. So you have to be kind of a visionary idiot to go through it.
Okay, so this notion of encouraging entrepreneurs, you've mentioned sort of baby steps and the fact that we celebrate those baby steps, but often entrepreneurs aren't encouraged and that we need to change the paradigm of that. Can you talk a little bit about what that means as far as encouraging entrepreneurs in an ethical and sustainable way?
Is there an ethical and sustainable way? I don't know. The only thing that I know is like it's like entrepreneurship is like a parenthood. Majority of us do the parenthood because of how we have had our own upbringing, and we want to give that love in our way, either to keep the cycle the same or the things that we do not like, give it differently. And
Mm,
I think generally speaking, with there are 8 point something billion people on earth, we all think differently. I'm glad that we are all different, and that way we can still help each other to be better. That said, there's only one Elon Musk, there's only one Jeff Bezos who've been able to achieve those goals. Do you know how many million entrepreneurs are there starting their idea, like the one to be the next Elon Musk or next Jeff Bezos or next Mark Zuckerberg? It, the goal can be big, but the steps you need to take. So those are the things that I will say is that you need to really do the steps. And the only thing as a support group that we can create is that you can join these accelerator groups where you can have self same-minded people. You can get a mentor. I will highly recommend to find a mentor. One, two, three, maybe more. It doesn't matter. What it comes to is you need to challenge yourself with people that who you want to become. Don't have a mentor that either is your family member that is the same level as you currently, because you cannot learn from that in an entrepreneurial mindset. So you need to get a person that has already achieved those goals, that is willing to help, that is willing to support. Listen to podcasts. I mean, we live in information. I mean, sometimes I can get like very, very frustrated that a lot of people do not realize that in this era that we live, you have so much information. You don't need to pay an individual to get that information. You can literally just go on YouTube, listen to podcasts, and like you are giving a lot of free advice, free knowledge on experiences, and your audiences are doing that. So learn from this. The only thing that I will say, when you hear something and it gives you a aha moment, take action. When you write things down, like, oh, I love this, what they said on the podcast, but if you don't take action on it, it's just going to be a fantasy again.
mm.
So when you hear something, when somebody shares with you an idea or a suggestion or do this, and you think that that person has a knowledge of experience or the financial means that you would love to be there, and you want to learn from that person, when that person said, do this, just do it. I will highly recommend for the youngsters, go do a Google research, find the entrepreneur that you're looking up to, and go to that person, knock at their doors. Just don't send them an email because that doesn't work. Just go knock at the doors and say, I will work for you for upcoming 2 months for free. And the only thing in return, what I want is that you teach me your entrepreneurship process. And then you share your knowledge with me. And after 2 months, if I did not work enough for you, then we just give a handshake and we split our ways. But if I've overworked your best team members, then I deserve a job. And see how quickly they will say yes to you.
Hmm.
Because nobody does that.
No,
We
you're
are
correct.
so entitled now. We are so entitled. We assume after I'm done with my education, I'm going to send 50 resumes and I'm going to get 100 jobs. So yeah, you need to take action. It's your life. Nobody, you are not entitled to anything, and we don't have to accept anything that you're saying or you're asking for. The only thing that you can do is you take action and you own your mistakes, you own your successes, and you celebrate them.
And mic drop. I love it. I love it. Yeah, no one is going to be as invested in you or your success as you need to be, for sure. All right. Eric, I'm so grateful that you took the time to be here. This has been such a fascinating conversation. I have just a couple more questions. First of all, if somebody wants to find out how to work with you, how to bring you to their company, how to find out more about you, what is the best place for them to look to find you, to find and glean some of your wisdom?
On LinkedIn, if you type Eric with a C and Burnik, Eric Burnik, you will find me on LinkedIn and you're going to be able to send me a message. Either I will respond or one of my teammates will respond to you. And in that way, we're going to be able to see in which way we can potentially either support you, help you, brainstorm, all the other stuff.
Terrific. And I'm going to put that link in the show notes so that you have it if you're watching. You don't watch the show, you listen
Listening.
to it. If you're listening to this, that's the way to do it. I'll put the link in the show notes, Eric Burnik, Eric Burnik. You will have that information so you'll be able to get a hold of Eric. And obviously, you know that you should, because if you like what I talk about, you will love what Eric talks about. All right, Eric, I have just two more questions, and they are questions that I ask everybody who comes on the show. And I know you've got to run, so I'll make this quick. Uh, First question is, what is it that gets you up in the morning? And I don't mean your alarm.
The projects that I'm working on, because I'm always active in my mind. The moment that I open my eyes, my brain goes, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, because those are the achievements I need to get on that day. It's like me going to a summer camp where you cannot sleep a couple of weeks beforehand because you're counting the days because you're going to go with your best friends to a summer camp. That's how it feels like when I wake up in the morning.
I love that. What a great life you've forged for yourself. That's fantastic. All righty, I have just one last question. And as I said, it's a question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. And the question is this. If you had an airplane, environmentally friendly, of course, that could skywrite anything for the whole world to see, what would you say?
Do it anyway.
I love it. Very simple, succinct, and applicable to just about anything you want to achieve in your life. Eric, thank you so much for being on the show. I am thrilled with this conversation. You are fabulous and fantastic. And I hope you'll come back and talk about the psychology of personal development with me again someday. Thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was amazing to have self-minded people in the call, like although we never knew each other, and now we get this connection, kind of same kind of experiences, different peak moments,
Mhm.
and we are now synchronized. And I'm looking absolutely forward to see your dream come through and have your Broadway show
Oh, I
running
appreciate that.
fully.
Thank you. And I am too. And as Yoda said, do or not do, there is no try. So that's one of the things
Exactly.
that I love Star Wars for is that quote. Eric Burnik, thank you so much for
Amen.
being on the show. I love it. This is Isolde Trachtenberg for the Creative Solutions Podcast. Thanking you so much for listening. You know you need to go find out more about Eric Burnik and the work that he's doing to help people be more innovative, more creative, and also live with that personal integrity. If you want to know more, the link is in the show notes. Until next time, as always, this is Isolde Trachtenberg for the Creative Solutions Podcast, reminding you to be bold, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the show if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Isolde Trachtenberg and is copyright 2024. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope.